Mark Twain said, "Whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting." We're going to have wars over water one of these days because water is vital. Here in Lompico, we have about 500 households. It's not really a town, it's just a canyon in the Santa Cruz Mountains. The only business is the water district. It's just a bunch of homes that started off as a resort area. Our claim to fame here is that Jerry Garcia lost part of a finger in Lompico Creek with an axe.
I measure rainfall. We got less than 20 inches this winter. The average here, long-term average, is 45 to 50 inches. This is a third year of a below-average series of winters. So if the stream dries up, since my house is dependent on it for a water supply, I'll have to pay to have water trucked into a firefighting storage tank that I have. The creek hasn't dried up in the 25 years I've lived here, but this is an unprecedented rainfall year.
We have clusters of dry years that come in a row and clusters of wet years as well. There's an additional level of variability you can now layer on top of all of that, which has to do with climate change. One of the big areas of the planet that's being affected is the hydrologic cycle. There are changes in the way air is moving and the way water is moving. We see in the San Francisco Bay Area, for example, in the last 100 years, there's been an increase in the intensity of storms. So what that means is during a given year, we're now more likely to get a larger fraction of our rain during a smaller number of events. You tend to get more runoff with those big storms. The streams tend to peak and flood. They tend to deliver more of that water to the ocean. There's less opportunity for that stream water or the water coming off of hill slopes to soak into the ground and recharge aquifers.
I've cut my water usage in half. Come on in. One of the things I did to conserve water was to buy a new washer. I collect water in a bucket while the water's heating up. And then I bring the water in the house. I'll take some of it and heat it up in this teapot, and I will take that hot water and wash my dishes. And then I take that water and I water my plants. California Department of Public Health contacted me and said it would be possible for us to get a grant for an emergency intertie with San Lorenzo Water District.
They really squeaked by in this last couple of weeks. I mean, it was a day away, I think, from trucking water in. This pipe will climb up approximately 700 feet in elevation to get to the Lompico water system. Because the state's in an unprecedented drought, we're all having water conservation. San Lorenzo Valley Water starts May 1st with a 20% mandatory restrictions. Lompico, they're in and out right now of rationing. When your neighbor knocks on your door and says, you need water, you help.
From maybe October through January, there was probably 70 different vegetation fires that were lit in the county this year, where typically we'd have maybe a dozen. These fuels out here, these grasses out here are probably twice as dry right now as they normally are at this time of year.
You know, California's entire landscape has been modified over the last 100 years. It's been plumbed. Every major river system in the entire state, except for one on the Oregon border, is dammed. And there's a huge network of aqueducts and gates and pumps that move water from one part of the state to the other. The farmers are going to be screaming bloody murder this summer because their water allocation just doesn't exist. And so there'll be fights over what's going to happen in the Sacramento Delta. They'll be accusing conservation advocates of putting them out of business because we don't want the salmon to go extinct and other species that are blinking out in the Delta. There's going to be a huge political battle this summer in California over who gets what water that still exists.